I'm going to read from this wonderful book, Starlight, Elixirs and Cosmic Vibrational Healing. It has been channeled from the Master HILARION, the Ascended Master HILARION, by Jon C. Fox. Please do remember, my native language, my mother tongue, is not English, it's Finnish. The seeding of the earth. It was as if in the beginning there was light. This light bursts forth. It was that which you call the sun. But it was of such tremendous energy at the time. Space and gravity did not exist. Instead, there was a great questioning. What will be? Has this question resonated with the sun? Energies poured in from many places and times. Transcending this were the energies from many other stars, as if saying, let this one be a little different. As the earth was birthed from the sun, there was also born a question about how love might be formed. God's energy is the energy of the combined forces of all of the billions of galaxies, of billions and billions of stars. This is an energy that asks, what will allow this to be more of what is? What was asked could this be a planet that could support love? The answer to this was unknown at the time, but it looked like a good shot. As the earth was formed, what was seen was a lot of water could be helpful for developing the emotions. Energies of all kinds were attracted to assisting in seeding of the earth. This seeding was a cross-fertilization from many civilizations and many developing technologies. Many energies of pure mental functioning alone were reflected to the sun to create the genetic structures that gave birth to life. First, there was a setting of a scene, and then the seeding itself. Humanity may have seen as quite distinct in many ways from other life forms found on Earth. Such a distinction cannot be ascribed to Darwinian evolutionary processes alone. There are too many differences in DNA structures, intelligence, consciousness, and certain unusual capacities of the human body to simply be explained by random chance or mutation processes. For instance, the hairs on a human body are aligned in such fashion as to promote naturally occurring efficiency in moving through water. Yet no aquatic phase has been identified. Nor would any primate other than man share this trait and capacity, as the fur of chimpanzees, apes, and other primates do not promote efficient movement through water. So therefore, you are left with many questions about this if you look at this from a purely evolutionary point of view. Neither can the evolution of humanity be understood by the miracle described in Genesis of God placing on earth certain beings fully formed and ready to do what they need to. This is because of the tremendous prehistory, the powerful influence of multiple civilizations going way back in time, and the powerful conscious affinity so many people have to animals and plants that go far beyond those things of recent civilizations' developments. People also have an affinity for powerful energies that extend way back into humanity's past. Therefore, recognize that the real answer to this question of genetic influence, seeding, etc., lies in your very being. It lies in your very being, in the cells in your bodies, in the DNA structures found within you. These contain the real answer to this question as to the nature of humanity's history in a biological sense. This has not been unlocked yet by your scientists. But when it is, the final question of evolution will be put to rest. Many of the influences on humanity can be traced to the powerful energies which are extraterrestrial in nature. These influences have certain patterns associated with vibratory signatures of other civilizations. Certain genetic aspects have been removed, changed, or modified far beyond that of current understanding. This could only happen through these other technologies. Because this happened over an extended period of time, it is not as if there was one coherent policy developed that was then continued all throughout humanity's evolution. As various other civilizations wished to contribute to this, many changes were made. Initially, there were direct influences from a concordance of number of civilizations that were directed through the highest level of awareness in the center of the galaxy. This was a coordination with powerful energies of pure starlight nature, not anything resembling human or organic life forms. I will repeat that. This was a coordination with powerful energies of pure starlight nature, not anything resembling human or organic life forms. Sorry, I started to think too much. But as humanity's own potential began to be recognized, by other civilizations. Various other contributions were made. A few were made quite outside of the approval, consent and assistance of humanity's guides, humanity itself, and the other beings that had been previously involved in the seeding. Therefore, it's important to recognize that this was not always done with humanity's highest interests at heart. Luckily, most of these aspects have contributed in generally beneficial ways to humanity, much to the chagrin, I don't know that word, of the civilizations involved, and the delight of those who wish the highest and best for humanity. Indeed, humanity is a synthesis of many influences, terrestrial and extraterrestrials. As a true melting pot of such energies, humanity cannot be so easily distinguished from other civilizations, yet has its own unique characteristics. Most people on Earth are a combination of the many beings that have existed in various forms on other planets. I will read that again. Most people on Earth are a combination of the many beings that have existed in various forms on other planets. But you have adapted especially for Earth. Your lungs have to adapt to the higher concentrations of various substances. Many things that are unique and special about Earth would be things that you have held into your own formulation. The stature of beings on Earth suits the gravity, so you are not as tall as some of those who have seeded you. People on Earth have a genetic memory that tells them things could be different, air doesn't have to be breathed quite this way, and that they could be a lot taller and live a lot longer. These are genetic implants that can allow transformation for people. These civilizations have powerfully influenced the DNA structures, the cellular structures, the anatomical structures, and the digestive system, the skin, the hair, the nails, as well as the very physical appearance, the size, the shape, and the form of the human body. The ability of individuals to communicate through various subtle forms, not just through the vocal or written forms, but also through telepathy, psychometry, and by passing information through sacred rites and many other things. These things have all been influenced by so many different civilizations, intertwined in so many different ways. The motivation behind this is different, of course, depending upon each of the civilizations involved. In some cases, this influence has been that of a seeking of an upliftment or a help to humanity. but in others it has been for the production of specific limitations. In others it has been so that the limitations are in alignment with humanity's own need to understand emotion, to work consciously with the understanding of death, and to work and to understand in ways that eventually give rise to the overcoming of these limitations and the bringing of consciousness in the form of love. Without the full consciousness of past lives where love was understood. Humanity's request to understand and work with love could not be accomplished without certain limitations. This way, an individual would not have to carry the guilt from the past lifetime into the current lifetime. Yet the individual would also have a deep understanding of disease or death processes, so that he or she would understand the power of emotion and work with appropriately. This always leading to a development of greater love, compassion and understanding. This is not an easy concept to understand, yet it relates very much to humanity's evolution and the purpose of humanity. This is why humanity's purpose is so difficult for so many people to accept and work with. Yet the meaning and power in humanity's purpose begins to come forth once you begin to appreciate some of these concepts. The influence of other civilizations on humanity has taken place in many different forms. Some of the more recent influences are to provide greater awareness of immortality and a sense within individuals of a contact with their ancient roots. This is through the Pleiadian influence, which has influenced individuals through the legends in ancient Greece, which has been transferred through Rome and the Catholic Church and many other forms into some current-day rituals and understanding. Some of these ancient legends, the particular form of your religious activity, and the various rituals that humans are involved in have a large influence on your civilization. Such things as Candlemas, Easter or Christmas have an influence for long periods of time. These rituals and awareness do not come only from terrestrial source, but going much further back in history, one observes the powerful influence of many other civilizations, including those of Sirius, Arcturus, Aldebaran, Procyon, and even to a milder extent through certainly at an important mental level the energies and concepts of Fomalhaut. As you go back through history, you will find influences in various different ways. Some of these influences have come from genetic manipulation, where certain specific strains of DNA were introduced through interbreeding with beings from other planets and stars. Some influences have been as subtle as an idea or a thought form placed clearly into humanity to see if it would accept or reject such a thing. Some influences have even been secondary, as in the creation of certain new genetic strains of plants that would be their signature, affect individuals, as is the case with corn and amaranth. Yet individuals are so affected by other means as well, those that affect them on the subtle body levels, and those that invite individuals' own participation in their own genetic changes, as occurred often in the early periods of Atlantis. So then you find these influences in so many different ways. This development of life on Earth must be seen in its true form. This is not just a matter of interference or ways in which these beings weren't always in concordance about how this was to take place. It is important to see that there is a core energy in humans that these beings really cannot touch. It is a core that is based in Earth's own existence and in the genetic structures of people. But most importantly, the core is an energy that is aching to light. This is the capacity within a human being to love and allow love to be a stronger and more important part of your lives. This is the characteristic within you that is the reflection of God from which you began. A reflection of God. Before taking form as a mountain, as a dinosaur, or as a human, you began as that starlight, at that great explosion of love that formed the earth. A part of you, the earth has, as a part of you, the earth can awaken this. It's not decided how this love will come into form. There are many suggestions, many avenues to explore, many things to know. But there are also many things that only the love itself will tell you. This story is important. It is important that the mistakes not to be repeated and you understand your roots. But what this history points out to you is your capacity. This capacity to transcend the history and the difficulties. This will be of great importance in charting the future history of humanity with consciousness, so that you don't blunder into it, but walk into it with your 3 eyes wide open. Well said. With your 3 eyes wide open. Now to deal with this issue is to begin to look at these things in a conscious, mental way. But as soon as you begin to do this, because of the vessel of consciousness is your body, and it is made of DNA, and it is made of these patterns that are associated with these other vibrations, you begin to stir up all these energies in yourself. your own understanding of the genetic influences on humanity will come from the awareness of your own DNA, your own naturally inherited characteristics. As humanity understands more about these core characteristics and the many influences on human DNA, it will no longer be possible for these civilizations to influence humanity with humanity's rejection of such influence. When this understanding is combined with the accelerated energies on Earth now, it is highly likely that soon humanity will influence its own genetic development by seeking out certain influences and emphasizing these over others. This will affect individuals in a single generation. This will lead to the changes in humanity likely to be observed over the next few decades. Humanity will do better with the acceptance and creation of its own influence. When you recognize that another race has genetic structures similar to humans, because they look like humans, because in some ways they have functional structures similar to humans, then you may be certain that these are seeding races and have had a strong influence genetically upon humanity's structure by the best of means, giving a part of themselves. So these star beings have given a part of themselves. This is different than genetic manipulation by scientific means, but an actual way of transferring what may be seen as loving and helpful factors into humanity. This may stir within individuals their capacity to accept just who they are. As you recognize in yourself many components from other star systems, there is also this underlying sense that comes through that these beings wish to be a part of this. It is as if to say there is hope, there is love, and that you are worth it. Indeed, God's love is with you. God love within you. Is strong enough to create this attraction to the beneficial energies provided by all of these different beings in all of these different ways. This is much stronger than being simply observed. It is a way in which these beings wish to participate, because humankind as a race has such tremendous potential for love, for change, for awareness, and for the education of these capacities back out into the universe. This is wonderful. Humankind as a race has such tremendous potential for love, for courage, for awareness, and for the education of these capacities back out into the universe. That's wonderful. The seeding of plants, animals, and minerals on Earth. This incredible variety of plant and animal forms on earth is not just the product of the bountiful nature of the earth herself. It is also necessary for a developing civilization to have much to draw upon. Some of the plants were taken from other worlds and genetically altered to be appropriate to Earth's environment, such as corn and amaranth. But by and large, the beings working with such energies found that there was little to be gained. Many of the species that were deliberately altered in order to provide change for people did not survive, nor did they provide the valuable and useful changes that were anticipated. It was seen, therefore, that the people themselves would do this better with telepathic influence, that there is a continuing influence not just by extraterrestrials but by humanity itself to seek variety and to encourage its own development on many levels. This was especially understood in Lemuria, with their creation of such variety of plants and devic orders, and all sorts of things that could give rise to other evolutionary characteristics in humanity's future. In many cases, the Lemurians, I don't know how to pronounce that, would go off on their own, and when they encountering difficulties, they would ask for assistance from extraterrestrials. That's nice. However, in the formation of certain powerful energies that would also affect genetics, as in the entire rose family, to a lesser extent to orchids, and certainly within the way in which quartz was to be manipulated and utilized by many civilizations, there was a very conscious and deliberate influence by a number of extraterrestrial civilizations, including those from Sirius, Alcyone, and in some cases Aldebaran. The point was to bring certain energies into form so that individuals could work with this but also have a choice about it. Other civilizations brought such forms into Earth where humans had very little choice, but this was much rarer than the usual consequences of such were rather drastic and difficult, and in many cases simply led to the dying out of a plant species seeded on Earth. With stones, it is a little different. Here, the idea of seeding on many levels has taken place over many millennia. In fact, before there was concrete understanding of awareness of the potential for race such as humans, millions and millions of years ago, interesting transference energies were utilized in the formation of number of stones. This was not the direct implantation of a stone, but rather the awareness of an energy that would form such a stone deep within the earth. This is important. This was not the direct implantation of the stone, but rather the awareness of an energy that would form such a stone deep in the earth. point of this was for the creation of a potential that might eventually give rise to civilizations, to things of beauty, to things to benefit. This was not a work within a direct aim. It was rather an appreciation of their beauty that allowed them a primary link. It was an expression more in the way of flower arranging or bonsai tree pruning. These beings would share an energy with the volcanic forces and the forces of energetic action deep within the earth for the formation of these substances. These underlying potential energies, which generally were beneficial and magnificent, gradually made their way into civilizations later. These were seeded by what you could imagine as telepathic, creative, manifesting abilities. But the ways in which humanity has used this potential and these stones, that was never foreseen. In this way, many of the older stones, those that may take millions of years to form, certainly continue to act as a bridge and link between humans and beings from other civilizations. I will read it again. In this way, many of the older stones, those that take millions of years to form, certainly continue to act as a bridge and a link between humans and beings from other civilizations. Certain stones, even certain forms of quartz, as found in the earth, are still utilized by other civilizations. These are taken from the earth and used to seed other civilizations with certain higher capacities that earth people may have. This is not a genetic seeding, but a general influence. Because earth is the receptive meeting ground of so many energies in so many different ways, from so many different places, including those influences from Earth's own development, the seeding of the Earth is the little more of a hodgepodge than a deliberate concentration. Where civilizations who work extensively with time travel are involved, these things are not by any means seeded with Earth in a linear matter.